So I'd like to thank everyone for joining this webinar today hosted by Yippy. For those of you who don't know, this is actually a private webinar. Those of you that were selected to join this webinar, we appreciate you because I know it's very early or late in some of your regions around the world. And the reason we invited you to this webinar is so you're some of the most well-respected, trusted advisors for large enterprises around the world. So I really appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about Yippy. For this webinar, we have a presentation mode to ensure the audio quality. We ask all attendees to be muted. We actually put you on mute ourselves as well. If you do have any questions, you can reach out to Rich Granville directly through the WebEx chat area. Or if you have any questions or difficulty, you can email me directly, john.routhier@yippyinc.com. Today's presenters, Richard Granville, the Chief Executive Officer for Yippy, as well as special guest, Mike Maguire, Director of Enterprise Search for Yippy. Mike, prior to Yippy, was at IBM and was actually one of the first hires at Vivissimo working on the Velocity solution. So now I'd like to turn over to Richard Granville.
Well, I appreciate it, John. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And again, I know the timing could be bad depending on where you're at in the world, so we're not going to keep you more than 20 minutes, okay? So thank you very much for attending our VAR Focused Webinar. Most people just call me Rich. A little about myself, I'm a technologist for over 30 years, experience in data systems, communications, and security. During my career, I've been a part of some great teams that have solved some of the most challenging IT problems, which is really what I like to do. And we accomplish this by dissecting the core issues of delivering IT and communication services to clients. Simply put, basically applying current technologies with middleware and hardware to increase efficiencies and the sustainability of production level environments. In all businesses, whether you're a baker or a manufacturer or an IT services company, efficiency is the key to sustainability, which leads to profitability. And I have a mantra: faster, better, cheaper solutions is what IT has lacked, especially in the search space. And that is generally true for all aspects of IT services in general. There are just too many layers of the onion to get things done. Now, I'd like to speak a little bit about the history of Yippy. In late 2008, a group of 3 geeks got together and we started a partnership called the Yippy Partnership Group. And the goal of this group was to evaluate several different IT verticals for opportunities to provide a better solution and a way forward. And while doing this, logging through thousands of pages of documents utilizing Google, I noticed something. Google was not as good as it was in 2008 as it was in 2006. And the amount of results that I was getting back that were unwanted made it very difficult for me to find the nuggets of gold that I call documents. So we realized that the biggest problem we could fix was staring us in the face. Search needed change, and a new way had to be found. The growth of the internet was far outpacing the current search technologies, especially for research and discovery practices. So in 2009, I met up with a good friend of mine, Jim Farr from Angel Funding Group, a Sand Hill Road guy, and we put some money together and we started the journey to find the next best search platform. That same year, I ran into a university project from Carnegie Mellon called Clusty, and many of y'all remember the Clusty search engine, which is the internet search engine of Yippy today, available at yippy.com. And I was blown away by this clustering technology. I mean, I could immediately see the value of the result sets, even with the limited amount of data that Clusty allowed you to extract from the meta search engines that they were, or the meta search data that they were attached to. So I took this to our guys and said, hey, everybody, take a look at this, and everybody went, wow, this is fantastic, and I remember one of our girls, Emily Parker, said, can you imagine what this would look like if it had more than 150 or 200 results behind it? So needless to say, we were very interested in Vivissimo's Velocity program, and we began negotiating with their executives, I guess in maybe June or July of 2009. It took us almost 8 months. We gave them many offers for money. They didn't take it. And basically, we got lucky that Vivissimo was growing at a faster pace in the revenue stream, and they got into a pinch for money, and we were able to negotiate to get a copy of their software in early 2010. In 2011, our desire was to really see the power of the program, but we needed a large data set to really understand all the value props of the software going forward. So I had a contact at Gale Cengage, and we made an introduction. And Gale Cengage is the second largest educational research company in the world for K-12 and higher ed. And I was able to negotiate my way in the door through this contact, and they basically said, hey, we're looking for a new product for learning institutions, especially on the search side. So they gave me access to several of their data silos, which had approximately 3 to 5 million documents in it. And when we put velocity on it, and we did some keyword searches, we knew that we had a huge winner. In 2012, from what we learned from the Gale Cengage partnership, was that a lot of large enterprises have many disparate content management systems and legacy data silos, and in Cengage cases, they had over 40 that we would have had to aggregate to be able to search all of the documents that they had. So obviously, we weren't equipped at that point to handle that kind of coding. So I started saying, hey, there's got to be somebody out there we can go partner with that has this. And I approached a company called Muse Global. Muse Global at the time was the leading provider of federation technologies, AKA connectors and connector frameworks. And we made a deal with them to acquire everything that they had that we needed to build a faster, better, cheaper solution to answer the problems that we had found at this when we did our deal with Cengage. Shortly after we did the deal with Muse Global and we started integrating their software and ours together in a stack, we got our first enterprise customer. They kind of fell out of the sky, and it was Fluor. Fluor is a leading engineering company. They build nuclear power plants and some of the largest construction projects in the world. And I was introduced to the CIO, Salem, and we kind of consider him the grandfather of our appliance. And in my many conversations with Say said, no, Rich, let me give you the biggest piece of advice. He said, I like your cloud designs, but there is no way Fluor or any other major organization in the next 10 or 15 years is ever going to trust the cloud with proprietary or sensitive data. And I would like you, and I'll pay you to do it, to go build me an appliance just so I can test this out for a use case model we have for a future deployment. So what he wanted to see was a plug-and-play, document-level security, and the ability to search all of his documents in his content management system at the same time in all locations around the world. And I kind of laughed and said, wow, you want the Holy Grail? And he goes, yeah, and I'm going to pay you 6 figures to show it to me. So things went extremely well. We got some breaks. We picked up a couple of good people, and we delivered on our promise to him, and they were amazed. In 2014, we really we had basically developed a lot more software assets that run on alongside and parallel on client side for the Velocity or Watson Explorer engine, as they call it today. And we basically built a software stack that allows us not only to provide search for the organization, but we can provide sentiment analysis and a bevy of other things that other companies couldn't offer. Because my fact is, if you're going to go in and just sell one product, then you're going to be standing up with a lot of other organizations that are doing the same thing. But if you can offer more products and services through your platform, then that's going to make you stand out and rise you to the top of the list of the list of the final group that gets to really bid for the jobs. In 2015, we spent a lot of time on security. And then we developed field level security, which we'll talk about later, which is going to be very important for healthcare, CRM systems, access to those companies that do customer service reps and customer service reps departments for major organizations. There was just a bevy of reasons why field level security made sense, and the fact that no one else was doing it. I was approached by a manager from Apple who said, you know, their customer service center was having 25 to 30-minute calls with customers for resolution of problems. And I asked why, and he said, well, Rich, it's because I have to log in and out of 7 different databases to be able to access or to be able to resolve the customer's problem. So from that experience that we had with Apple, meeting with them, that's why we developed the field level security, which Mike will be touching on a little bit later. Obviously, we don't need to talk about 2016. We basically took our Ease 360 Blue Flame appliance that we had developed for Floor, and we just said, well, let's cut down some of the applications inside of it and really just go after the cheese box with a product that does a lot more and is compelling in price and in features. So which is why we're all here today to have this conversation, is just to understand more about that product. So our technology is not open source. Our technology is not an old copy of FAST or, you know, some of the other programs that are out there that have been regurgitated. Ours is the best of breed. As I discussed earlier, the Velocity program that we acquired was acquired by IBM in 2012 for about 47 times more than what I paid for my copy. So I think we did a pretty good job there. Also, IBM is one of Yippy's largest shareholders. And what we basically did was we took the Explorer platform and then we wrote proprietary programs around the outside of it, as well as the things that we've acquired that I spoke to earlier, added, you know, active and passive content filters, some very unique Active Directory and LDAP implementation, some UI interfaces that just can be pulled up, can be designed in minutes instead of days and hours, and we packaged it all up and put it onto appliance that we could deliver to our customers. Connectors being, you know, everybody's talking about connectors. You know, why connectors are such a big deal, I really don't understand it. But we spent since 2012 collecting every major connector to every major UI that is out there, we believe. I don't think there's anything that you're going to run into from a sales standpoint for a connector need that we don't have already. You know, these connectors are, you know, set up for content federation, harvesting public, private, unstructured data across any location, including enterprise applications, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Documentum, Box, Salesforce, SharePoint, Jira, Confluence, SAP. We don't care. We have them all. So when you're looking for an ability to get a sale and get it done quickly, you know, most VARs have to go off and they got their internet, they have their search platform. Now they got to go out, somebody finds the connectors for the search platform, and then they've got to work those connectors in. And it just, like I said, it's not efficient. So when you're dealing with us, just understand that we have everything you need to make the sale. Concept clustering, obviously the most important aspect of Velocity by far. I can't emphasize enough how well it works and what customers' eyes look like when they see it for the first time, you know, behind a large data set. The clustering really gives you insight into your data that you wouldn't normally have. It removes the hunt and peck method. It allows you to find topics quickly, and you're going to find out things about your data that you never even knew prior to using our product. It's good for entity extraction, discovery, concept, trending, sentiment analysis. I mean, in the visualization, it really gives you, like we say in the script here, it's true insight into your data with patented processes. To give you a quick idea about, you know, how our clustering works, we made a search term for our outgoing president, Obama, and as you can see, these are terms from our Yippy.com internet search engine. A lot of news sources, news feeds. You know, our internet search engine is not the same as Google. We actually do things a little bit different than them. We have multiple data sets and not just one index. So we're extracting data from real time from about 9 different repositories, and from that search query Obama, which was made, I guess, yesterday or the day before, the Velocity algorithm has shown that the concept clusters, or the things that relate to Obama the most as of that day, are Israel and Trump, Hillary, the Senate and the Congress is trying to veto, one of his bills. And as you can see that, the concepts really drill down on what's important and what Obama is dealing with right today in the here and now. And that gives you insight into not just Obama or the government, but that can give you insight into other businesses. It can give you insight into verticals that you didn't even understand before. It can get you the information that you didn't even know was available or didn't know anything about that particular subject that you were searching about. It is very, very, very important for research and for discovery for an organization. To give you an idea of the insights that you can drill down on, not only do we provide the clusters for you over the main topics, but we also drill those down so that you can get down. So as you can see, we've drilled down on Israel, and now we're sub-clustering the results as it relates to Israel so that you can go figure out what those topics are related to Obama. Like what's going on with Netanyahu and how's their relationships, or what are they saying to each other, how, what's going on with the military and what's going on with the Obama administration as it relates to Israel. These are all things that help the organization get to the real data that they're looking for. And at the same time, from a web search, from an internet search perspective, it's probably the best use case there is because you can find data that you couldn't find if you were searching in Google. You would not be, so we're basically, the Google search engine was for the enterprise. Well, Yippy now is the high standard for the enterprise because we're able to get you the data that you need quicker, faster, and more efficiently. I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to Mike Maguire, who's going to talk a little bit more about the technology and how it works.
All right, hello everybody. As he said, my name is Mike Maguire, and I'm the Director of the Enterprise Search here at Yippy. I want to further extend both of their thank yous for joining us today so that we can talk about the product and what we're trying to do. We are very excited to get this out there to you guys and to customers. So I'm really excited to be here. But the first one we're going to talk about here is the document level and field level security. This is pretty key. As it shows there on the slide, it gives you control over many things, and it'll allow us to use single sign-on, LDAP, ACLs, pretty much any way that you can give us credentials from your environment. We can bring them into the YSA, the appliance, and then use them on a document level and on a field level. What that means is that we can have access to certain documents based on groups, and we can have access to certain fields based on groups. Healthcare is a good example here. Your first level of support in a customer service enterprise for a hospital may need access to patient records such as first name, last name, address, phone number, but they don't need to see their health information or their social security numbers. However, the hospital administrator or an auditor or somebody along those lines might need that. Well, that's what we've built on top of the product, is the ability to pull or show and not show just certain content on documents based on the ACLs, as opposed to it being purely only a document level. This one's back to Rich.
So I hired IDC to take a look at our software stack and to tell me what they thought. And they were amazed at what we had. They said, Rich, this works basically horizontally across all verticals. And your information gathering abilities are second to none. So truly, you guys can provide a unified information platform that unifies all data on the enterprise. And they put out a white paper about us that I believe we have on our website, and if it's not there, we'll make sure that it's up. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, customers are looking for a way to get to the documents, and they're not wanting to waste time wasting time looking for things and making additional searches that don't make any sense. So at the end of the day, IDC was one of the reasons why we headed in the appliance direction as well, and continued on building our software stack.
Back to the appliance itself, this is just a fairly general slide that just says, again, it reiterates the fact that what we're handing you is an all-in-one box. We want the connectors, the engine, the clustering technology, all of the technology that we built on top of it, the security levels that we talked about, and most importantly, your data. This is one that we've, was alluded to earlier, that people did not trust, private intellectual data out on the cloud yet, so it needed to be stored locally. And we're giving you the hardware that allows you to do that all in one box with the technologies that we developed and with the stack that's already there.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about the box too. It's fully solid state. We're not using the cheese box method, which is cheap hardware in a painted yellow box. Everything's SSD. We've got 8 to 32 cores. We've got between 72 and 256 gigs of RAM, depending if it's a 1U form factor or a 2U form factor. So we want you to understand that when your customers find out what's in the box as it relates to the hardware, they're going to be very impressed.
Now, when we get back to why we started building the Search Appliance in the first place to replace the Google Search Appliance, there was several factors that we kept hearing that were, facets of information or features that people wanted to see. The first was content pipelining. This kind of, this verbiage means, in our sense, of getting the data into the index. In other words, all of the connectors that was mentioned earlier. We want to be able to take any repository, any data silo, and no matter what it is, and be able to get it into a unified structure so that we can have one search interface to get you to all of your information. Second is fast indexing. This has two meanings in our world. First off, velocity. Fast indexing is a way of monitoring the indices themselves. It's almost an index of indices, if you will. It's what allows us to create that clustering that's going to be mentioned more later and has already been mentioned. It's what allows us to do that on the fly without having to, do or wait and still return those results in sub-second time. The second is obviously just the fast indexing of the data. How fast can we get that data into an index so that it can be searchable? We have the ability to utilize all the cores and all of the CPU power of the box to try to get 100% utilization out of it and to get that into the data as fast as possible. This also allows you to refresh your data frequently and keep it as fresh as possible. Classification has been mentioned several times, but we're still going to include it here because, again, it's a key factor that people have wanted to see and have been amazed by the results that they get when they have it. And it just auto classification of the documents occurring in real time during your search is a huge deal. These next three can all kind of be clumped up into collaboration. The user result rating is really just as it sounds. It's a rating system, so it'll allow, let's use the example of a customer support center again and say that I had a problem with somebody's modem. And I did a search results and I found this one particular document that was exceptional. I can give it a 5-star. Well, those ratings are used during search time to, when doing the federation and when doing all of the calculations to determine which ones are better, those ratings are used to determine which one should be higher scored. Users can also save results. What this is a little bit more than just saving, I typed in the word Obama, let me save that search result. It's about drilling down through those classification and clusterings that we talked about earlier. And once you find a specific set of results that you feel could be helpful or you might want to come back to later, you can save that entire tree, that navigation tree that you have so that you don't have to try to find it again. And then the last one is just tagging. Much like we have in any social media, on your Facebooks, your Instagrams, and your Twitter, you can just tag something. You can add keywords to it to identify what's in the document that, maybe there's more to the document or the document can have more than one meaning, and you can add those tags to it. Again, those are used during search time to try to come up with the most valid search results that you're searching for. Next up is the conceptual clustering, which again, we are really focusing on that because it's huge. It's one of the things that we are most passionate about in the product, and it's one of the things that we still stand on very heavily. Being able to give you results that you didn't expect, or when you put in a search term, the clustering will allow you to go down a different path than maybe you started off on. It gives you suggestions based on real-time results that are coming back. And then the field and document level security, I think I've already covered fairly sufficiently. The next slide is what you're going to see is titled "What Makes YSA Superior." So the reason we wanted to talk about that, again, we went over them in bullet points on the last page, but there's a few things that I wanted to talk about, Velocity specific or Data Explorer specific or Watson Explorer specific, depending on which version you're talking about. And that's just the underlying stack. Why is the stack so important? And I want to talk a little bit about that because I've been with that stack for the last 7 or 8 years, ever since it was first in Vivissimo. So what you can rely on from that and what you can expect from that is that we have superior indexing algorithms and index structure to allow for increased security, on-the-fly updates, more powerful expansion of search, and a generally smaller index footprint. Now, all of these things are extremely powerful or important to the modern search enterprise application. We need it to be able to be as fast as possible and secure as possible. And we have some of the fastest algorithms in the market to do that. Again, the stack has been proven in production and in high demand environments through such as companies such as John Deere, CAT, Verizon, Airbus. We've seen this product run at 10 to 15 queries per second and it not bend under that pressure. And that's not even with extremely powerful hardware. That's like a single processor, 4-core. It doesn't take a lot to get a lot out of the stack. Extreme modular ability to allow us to build best in practices. This means more tuning of each step of the ingestion process, thanks to our deployment experience. Again, the history that was talked about earlier has allowed us to go through a lot of deployment experience, and those of us that come from IBM and Vivissimo have also been through it, and it allows us to tweak and tune and make as efficient as possible, but all the crawling, the gathering of the information, the converting of the information, the storing of the information, and then finally the retrieval of the information when you want to search and get those results. Next is the high quality connectivity, including continuous updating, allowing for always up-to-date indices, and many of the highest quality connectors, including complete support for the security models that we've talked about earlier. You could pretty much give us any security as long as the authentication mechanism takes place and you hand it off to us. We can take it from there pretty much with any type of system. Another thing we want to focus on is that if you guys want to build on top is that we have easy integration. There are XML and JSON feeds that are being worked on. Velocity also has a fully RESTful API that allows for companies to consume the product. An example of this would be Symantec, who has the Velocity platform in Enterprise Vault. So those are going to be used in some huge environments again. And then the topic clustering, which allows for the dynamic, we'll call it theme extraction from hundreds or thousands of results buried in the concepts, as opposed to just what's on the face, the title, the snippet, and stuff like that. And then again, it's just scalable, flexible, and consumable to let you guys do whatever you need to do with it. And then next, Rich, would be the VAR program discussion.
Yeah, great. So, and I apologize. I'm basically now just on a direct connect. With VAR programs from us, we are not a one-size-fits-all, or it's not going to be a cookie-cutter type scenario. We're going to be basing our programs on your organization. Depending on where you're at in the world, depending on the size of your organization, depending on who you sell to. Do you sell mainly to SMBs? Do you sell to major organizations, international organizations? We're going to be taking all those into account, and we're going to be building a relationship model around what you do. We have flexible pricing models. We're not going to be undersold, quite frankly. You don't want to have a product going up against us, and you want to be selling our product because we're beating everybody over in the States right now. We haven't lost a deal in the last month and a half to anyone or any competitor from any of our known vertical competitors. We pay a very strong commission rate. Again, we're going back to the ease of the installation of our box. This is as close to a plug and play as you can get. When you order a box, it comes with the connectors. It comes with everything you need. All we need is you guys to do the development work, which is what most VARs want to do, building the UIs and the interfaces and the visualizations for their customers. And then we come together as two companies and we connect the dots and get everything working so that when you deliver this product to your customer, they are blown away, which means happier clients, it means more money, and it goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning. We're building efficiencies so that you can keep sustainable customers so that you can make more money. So what we'll be interested in talking to some of you VARs about is, and especially almost, I think everyone's an international VAR. Yippy's really focused on the U.S. and Canada, and we're looking for new VAR opportunities for the EU, for Asia, just anywhere that we can pick up a VAR that has customers that wants to sell the most powerful platform available today. There are exclusivity arrangements can be made for certain regions. We don't speak the language in a lot of countries, so obviously for us to try to hire and train people for those areas wouldn't be cost effective, and we'd rather partner with larger organizations that have a reasonable history in the business and pass our due diligence process. And that's essentially it. We just wanted to give you guys an overview. I know we said this would be about 20 minutes. We've gone a little bit longer. So if there are no questions, I know many of you probably want to go to bed or go get something to eat. So I'm going to pass it back over to John Routhier. Thank you.
So thank everyone for your time, and we apologize